take DVD yet?
I believe they do, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, Gregory and I can send that, we can do that, you fellows can take it up to them.
Now, what is the nature of your,
Of a chat with Glendora,
yeah,
practically anything.
Glendora was one of the original cable access programs in the entire country. You know, television with the big boys.
so it's like a, it's almost like The View?
Like
No.
Bob Hope and,
No, it's not like The View.
Okay.
No,
You-
it's
you
not
mean-
it's not that depth of controversial.
Okay, so it's a
Oh,
public interest type,
She talks with people, she interviews people.
we go to church and do the church services. We have one young man in Pittsfield who, I go over there and he talks about the Bible with me.
She
And
interviews children. asks
The
them-
show she did with myself was about the career of being a town clerk.
Yeah.
She's done similar shows with the manager, the town manager of Plainville, with the clerk of
East
Hartford,
Hartford, Sharon
Sharon
Miller.
Miller, with other public officials. So there's different kinds of teams. Now, how many stations are you?
85,
Yeah.
all across the USA.
85 stations.
Yeah, 85 public access stations.
Regularly show your material.
Yes, every week, it's a new show. I send out about 400 dubs a month.
And so somebody in Illinois, for instance, could see your show on a cable access channel out there?
Yes, and the one there is Highland Park, which is a suburb of Chicago.
Okay, so you would do, let's say you went to, I think you said Pittsfield?
Yeah, we go to
You
Pittsfield.
went to a church in Pittsfield?
No, it wasn't a church. Well, yeah, we did do a minister there, but we went to a young man there who is a converted Christian and very enthusiastic about Jesus and serving the Lord. And he's very good about going through the Bible, and we just sit and talk about that for a half an hour a week.
But let me see if you, see if I'm gonna get to my point here. Let's say you did a show with somebody in Manchester, Connecticut, about some aspect of the town of Manchester's maybe history or something like that. You would show that across all 85 so that somebody in Highland Park, Illinois, who may not know or care one iota about Manchester would have that show playing in Highland Park.
Yeah. But it would still be interesting to them.
Okay,
Because the people who talk are interesting, and then what they're talking about, they can apply to their own.
gotcha, okay.
Yes. And this Joe, tell him about how many people saw you across the state. Because my show's in
Quite a
about
few.
10 public access.
You know, I've gotten calls from people saying, we seen you on TV, and I had no clue what they were talking about. They explained the show, and it was the show we taped last summer. And generally very good feedback on it too. Basically, the discussion was about the career of a town clerk and some of that.
Yeah, what's a boy or girl
Yeah.
do to
Yeah.
prepare himself for a career as a
Somebody
town
wants to
clerk?
be a town
Now,
clerk.
Mr. Engun, who lives in Meriden, is the sponsor of my show in Meriden, Southington, and Cheshire. And,
So Meriden has cable TV?
Yes, it's
West
Fox, as
Hartford.
a matter of fact.
Carol.
I'm being facetious.
Oh, okay.
I know Meriden just recently got indoor plumbing, so I didn't know whether they had.
Oh.
Meriden being the silver city, right?
yeah, see, the pipes down there has a silver lining in them.
Well, the programs are always interesting.
Yeah.
So we'll, Tim and I will take, steps to maybe see what we can do about getting something set up on channel 14 and
Channel 50,
15, rather. And,
public access.
yeah, and see what we can do.
Yeah.
But you have a DVD of it, obviously.
You're talking to me, Mr.?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yes, I sent
Of the
him.
show we did, yeah, indeed.
Yes, I sent him
Yeah,
one.
make sure to. And then we want to do something, we're thinking something maybe in the light of a sports show of some kind, something we could, non-political, we could.
Now, are you thinking of a monthly or a weekly? WEAKLY.
Well, the problem is when you start committing to something, let's say weekly, people don't realize that, and addition to everything else that you do, like, say Joe and I work here, and all of the other outside activities that we're involved with, it's not just that you show up once a week and do a show, you gotta prepare, you gotta be organized, you've gotta do research sometimes, you've got to, you know, you don't just show up at 8 o'clock on a Thursday night and do a show. You know, you need to put some thought into it, you need to have some preparation. And Joe and I are pretty involved in a lot of other things. I'm a coach in Little League, I play softball, I umpire Little League, I umpire softball. So, to
You do
commit,
that and you're a Red Sox fan?
to commit to a weekly show is a lot.
It's a lot, yeah.
I
So you
mean,
want a monthly?
A
We would
monthly.
probably, if we did something, we'd probably
It'd be
be on a
monthly.
monthly basis and see how it went, you know.
So you're
So
saying
my
your show
idea
is
for you,
live?
Pardon?
was,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
excuse me, go ahead.
Your show is live,
Our show is the Channel 16
and
productions,
what you're talking about.
and what I would talk about would be live and then replay.
All right, but her show is already totally done,
Yeah.
so that you just put it in and show it. How
Yeah.
does that
Mine would
interfere?
not be live, mine would be video.
No, her show is not, the show that Joe and I would be doing.
Oh, okay, oh, I thought you.
Her
were-
show is fine.
Oh, okay.
Her show is done, it's a complete package, you just
Yes,
get it into the technology and it goes.
so would hers be monthly or weekly?
Hers can be whatever frequency she wants it to be.
You're talking about two different things.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to clarify, I wasn't.
One is the Channel 16 things, is what they were talking about, and one is the Channel 15 for Glendora show.
The Channel 16, as you say, has to be specifically about the town.
Yes.
That makes sense. Do all towns have that?
No. I would say,
Well, they're supposed to.
In
That's what you
Connecticut,
call
let me
PEG,
just-
public educational
Education and
government.
government, seated in locals.
And they're supposed to have an educational channel, they're supposed to have a government channel, they're supposed to have public access.
but I don't think, quite frankly, I don't think the majority of towns in Connecticut have the government channel yet.
Oh,
I think they're all in various stages towards that.
That's true, yes.
Which channel the schools use?
Channel 16.
Greg, tell them the name of your public access show.
Oh, my show's name is it's an acronym, IGWOS. It stands for, It Goes Without Saying. And I just call it IGWOS. And it's in its fledgling stages right now. It's kind of just starting up, so
So that too goes on, see?
that's
So
what
I
it is.
take it then that your shows are, the production of your show can be very mobile.
Oh,
other
it's
words,
instant. It's
You,
instant.
but you will go to a location and sit down and film an interview with a.
Yes, and Timothy, if you're talking about an interview, I think very soon now, we're going to start getting a webcam. And if the person I interview, for instance, Joe, doesn't have one, I'll send him one. Loan it, they only cost about $59.
But right now, do you go to a location with somebody who films for you?
All the time.
But not what we did, tell them what we did. when you
We did it over the telephone, and it was very good.
You did it over the telephone?
Yes, and
And
he
which-
sent,
So what was the visual?
well, he sent me a lovely autographed picture, and,
So how did that
But I s-
work on television?
well, I sit,
Yeah.
that happened to be a very nice day, and I sat on our place in our 3 acres out in the country, and I had Joe talking to me on the audio tape recorder, and I just sat there and I listened to it, and every now and then I might stop it and tell something that would explain what he was saying.
So when this is playing on cable access stations, there's just voice of Joe?
No, myself, I'm here.
Yeah, but as far as Joe's concerned, just his voice.
Yes, but today we came down to interview him in person.
Down in the veterans room.
Yeah, that's a keeper, David.
Yeah, I think we've just about finished our interview with him.
You know what you should do, sometimes you get webcams and we'll use shows not from Florida with Joe.
I think it's
With
wonderful.
webcam.
Is it hard to operate, Arnie?
No, it's not really,
Arnie has a very elaborate studio
up my own studio so I can have control over everything that goes on in it. The name of my show is called The Elusitarians, View of the Upside Down World. And it deals with the high-level economics, legal aspects, international justice, and corruption in the government at large. And it's not an opinion program that I do, it's all documentation. And being up against the top level intellectual entities you could find anywhere in the United States. Because I got my plumbing in working order.
But tell us about your studio, how you got the 3 cameras and.
I have 3 cameras and I use 4 with the webcams set up with Joe. So I have a control box that I can switch from camera 1, 2, and 3, and a close-up camera where I can put documents in front of it, and I switch from individual cameras, just like they do in the big studios. Built it all myself.
This is in your house?
Yeah.
In your house?
Yeah.
And did you have like some background in this before you started doing this? Did you work for?
No, never
It's
did.
kind of an avocation?
I have a mechanical engineering background, so I know how to figure things out
Yeah.
by using the concept of logic as a medium with which to assuage properly the validity of circumstances.
Ready ingenuity is what it is. Ready ingenuity.
I have no problem with technical matters to any great extent.
So I was thinking that,
Just want to clarify one point. You referred a minute ago to government, and I think your target was the federal government. Actually, you're very supportive, I know, of state and local government.
It depends on the nature of state and local government. Yes, you need the aspects of it in order to function. It's just like an individual family is a form of government. And, so it's the same thing when you have a job, you have to have a structured entity in which to properly operate. Yep. But I deal with now is most Americans are woefully uneducated. We're the least capable of any nations that I've ever traveled to, and I traveled consecutively for 5, 6 years, 24 hours a day, and did research. And I also lived in Vienna for as much as 6 months at a time to do research on matters. Because Americans have very little knowledge of European history, and most of the history books, to a great extent, are cooked. And we are, as a collective entity in the United States, we are, number 29 in the world of education now. I usually go, Glendora, let's say you come from Italy. I go to Italy. I don't go to Rome. I go to small places. And I set myself up in the square. I'll buy myself a beer or get someone who speaks English. And I say, it's what happened here 2,000 years ago. And you get a very sizable interest in that, and you learn as an educational venture to do that. And pretty soon, you don't even have to stay in a hotel anymore. You just get invited home because of your interest in the nature and culture. Americans do not go to Europe to learn about culture. They go to museum A, B, and C, and they have a tour guides, and they lure you into the tourist shops. And then they come back a week later, and what did you learn about Italy or whatever country? Nothing. They know nothing. And understand even less.
Timothy, did we answer your questions? I would not be a part of your Channel 16. That's the way I understand it. I would not be a part of your
Right.
channel. But we would do, my idea for Joe, I had an idea to do it once a week, and Joe doesn't have any trouble filling a half an hour. And so that was my idea, and then I thought eventually, instead of coming down in person, we would do it by webcam.
We might have to rethink it once a week, because it's kind of taxing, it would be taxing.
What was that, Joe?
I would have to rethink doing it once a week, frankly.
Once a week?
Yeah, I probably,
Well, I-
how do I gonna make that kind of commitment?
Are you saying once a month or once a week?
Probably more like once a month would be.
Yeah, let's get, okay.
The problem with once a week is you start to run out of fresh material.
Not him.
Well, even Joe.
But the main problem is you both have heavy commitments otherwise.
We don't.
It would be difficult to do
All right, so that's the way we'll do it then. Then I'd like to have the Cox Station and play it 4 times a month.
That is pretty standard. There's a gentleman in town who does a show once a month, but it plays, Stevie? But it plays 4 times a month.
Yes.
In other words, he produces it on a Monday, and then it plays every Monday for the rest of that month.
Okay, yeah. Does that sound good to you, Joe?
What you have to be careful is that what you talk about could become dated by the 4th week, so you just have to.
Yes,
Be
but I don't think
sensitive
anything
to
he
that.
said today
Yeah.
was dated, do
Yeah.
you? It would apply for the whole month easily.
And I can also do call-in programs, people can call them.
Really?
Yeah.
But it's on tape.
Yep.
But
Well,
they
what you
can't
do is
call.
you have the,
It will not be live, no.
well, what happens in some of the local public access channels is they will put on a show live with a call-in feature. And then that will obviously be recorded in addition to being live, and then it plays for replays.
But there's nobody there to answer the call-in.
Yes, there is on the very first night,
Yes.
right, and then that
Yeah,
show
well,
is
that's the tape.
replayed,
Yeah,
that show is
that's the
replayed.
tape, yeah. Well, you used to do that in Bolton.
We did that up there, yeah.
Bolton.
Yeah.
Well, you sure, Mr. O'Neill, that we answered your questions?
Yes, you have.
We would like, I have a question of you. What's the difference between a town attorney and a corporation counsel?
Nothing,
Nothing.
just names. There are some towns that call them town attorneys, and some towns call them corporation counsel. I think you tend to have the larger cities call their town attorneys corporation counsel.
Everything is a corporation.
It's probably the salary that you
Everything.
managed to get.
I guess it could be. I think the larger cities think of themselves
As a
as
corporation.
we're all corporations, but they think of themselves more in terms of corporation.
Now we have to explain the relationship of the Schuberts.
We'd have to talk to those two because they were talking about it. I'm only Schubert by marriage.
Well, she's a Connecticut person now. Her daddy's name was Warren.
Yes. So,
And she grew up in Trumbull, right?
Monroe.
Monroe. So this Schubert has declared that there is no relationship between John Schubert.
We don't think there is at this point.
We don't think so.
Yeah. Because Germany has lots of Schuberts and they didn't all come from the same places. Now, if you could go back far enough in German records, if they existed, maybe, possibly.
How far have you gone back? Have you?
I haven't done a whole lot of it. I have a sister and her husband has a lot of records, but most of those are on my mother's side because they came over in the Mayflower.
Carol is back quite far.
1838, 39.
His father.
1838, 39, what?
In Germany.
In Germany, what they,
That's when they were born. They were, it's as far back as I go.
that's as far back as you've gone.
Your father.
They come through, what's the island?
Ellis Island.
Yes, they came through Ellis Island.
And they spelled the name correctly?
Have you been down there to see the records?
Yes,
I have not done that yet.
it's very.
It's awesome. Absolutely awesome.
Now, you say that you are from rural New York?
I'm
Glendora, yeah.
Yes, we are.
Which is where?
Kinderhook,
Which
Martin
is-
Van Buren, 8th President of the United States.
20
Where?
miles south of Albany.
No,
On the
not
other
near
side of the
Albany, 33 miles from it. Hudson, you know where Hudson, New York is?
Well, I know Hudson River, obviously, I know where Albany is,
Yes.
Poughkeepsie.
And the story about Kinderhook is that Henry Hudson, when he came up the Hudson, he got as far as Stuyvesant, which is very Dutch. And and the Hudson bends right about there. And he saw Indian children on the shore playing, and he said, Kinderhook.
Children's Corner.
Now, it's very, very Dutch along there. In fact, they have an expression that if you aren't Dutch, you're not much.
That's why I met the girl from up there, Glendora. When we went up, we went Dutch.
Yes, we did. No, you didn't. paid for it. Where's Albert? There's Albert paid for the whole lunch ticket. I remember well.
Oh, Kinderhook's where okay came from,
Excuse me?
where the phrase okay came from.
Yeah, tell them about that.
That during the war, they were selling beef to the army, or to the service, to the army, and it needed to be verified that it was okay. So, old Kinderhook would use the okay on their beef to say, oh.
Interesting.
Didn't it have something to do with Martin Van Buren? He was a governor in Albany,
Yeah,
and he lived in Kinderhook, and didn't he use the same?
Yes, it continued, yes, he continued it, the Red Fox,
Okay.
yes.
That's quite a place if you ever want to go to see that Martin Van Buren house in Kinderhook. It's very interesting.
It's
historically,
retirement, huh?
To say nothing of historically.
It's still a farmland area there, huh?
Color on Christmas though.
Yes.
That's nice.
No, I do, and isn't that interesting, Timothy, that out of that little rural area comes all of these television shows?
Yeah.
Terrific.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a very grand convocation, and I'm pleased with the whole thing. Anybody else have anything to say?
I enjoyed myself
You're good.
very much,
Good.
very nice,
Oh, good.
informative and instructive.
It's really nice to see what you're doing as a town in the records. Yeah, that's really good.
Thank you.
Are you in need of volunteers for more work?
Yes, very much so. I mean, that space downstairs should be a buzz to keep things moving, and unfortunately, we have not, one person had not been well, and Carol was tied up with other things, so we could always use some more volunteers, no question, to move things along. But Carol and Brenda, her colleague, were very special people because
Thank you.
they would do it with a passion and loyalty to preservation and to accuracy and integrity of records. And you just don't want some people coming in just
Need to
doing
filter.
things, I made my first mistake. We brought on some volunteers not to do inventory, but there were some youths that needed to do some community service. And so I thought, gee, what a fine opportunity to do what I did many a day when I was in the Army, polish brass. And we have brass handles on some of the drawers in the vault. They would have never passed inspection because they just didn't work. They just didn't work. I had to go back over there with my brass old cloth and redo many of the things.
He polished up the handle on the big brass door. What is that?
And
What's that?
what?
Polished up the brass door, and he did it so well that now he's the ruler of the King's 90.
I've done some genealogy around Connecticut, and I have to say that Manchester has by far the best
Thank you.
books and place to work.
You ever try genealogy.org? Genealogy.org.
No, I'm not too good on the computer.
One of the finest resources, and they have an exhibit here during our Family History Day, is the Churchill Latter-day Saints. And
Yes.
they have microfilm,
Oh, yeah.
particularly in Western Europe, and
Yeah.
the town my maternal grandparents are from is a very small town in Italy. And they got microfilm going back to the early 1800s
Yeah.
of birth, death, and marriage records, yeah.
They
I
are
was
the
able to-
premier genealogy center.
Yeah, and they have a access, web access, where
Yeah.
you can order
Yeah.
the microfilm and view it and then return it. I was able to go back to my maternal side back to 1805 and then.
Oh. We haven't told you about Mr. Whitney's book. Mr. Whitney has a book that has just been published, what, in the last 2 months?
About 9/11, I read about everything that's ever been written about 9/11, and it's been a lot of stuff there that contradicts the official story. So I broke it into pieces and reconstructed it as a whole different thesis of what really happened. That's the title of
by the American Free Press.
And also your other book too, the one major
controllers.
research one, the controllers.
And that goes back to 1994, but yeah, that's, you know, basically there's a lot of powerful people in the world that pull the strings behind the scenes. That was what that book was all about.
Yep.
That's a very exhaustive research material you have in that book there. I use it on my show.
Good.
There was a gentleman who was a professor at the University of Hartford, who's since passed on. His name was Charles Evica.
Charles what?
Evica, E-V-I-C-A. He was a literary professor, I believe, at Hartford. But he had a weekly show, and you may have heard of him, about the assassination of President Kennedy.
Yeah.
And he spawned various concepts and all that.
Good.
And one day, I'm into this job about a year as town clerk, I received a phone call from him.
Oh,
And he was doing some research on Manchester records, because Lee Harvey Oswald's mother lived in Manchester. And
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and has a connection to me, and sure enough, there were some records of his
oh,
mother.
really?
You
Yeah,
learn something
but-
every day. Boy,
Lee
that's-
Harvey was not born in Manchester, but she did live here and
Yeah.
may have been buried in Manchester. I don't recall the exact details.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
There's
Well-
some capacities you don't know.
I think it's been a wonderful conversation. You want to hear a joke?
Yes.
All right. Harry is talking to God, and he says to God, how much is $1 million to you, God? And God said $10. And Harry says, well, God, how long is 1,000,000 years to you? And God said, 1 second. And Harry says, God, will you loan me $10? And God said, certainly, just a second.
I second the motion.
Well, anybody else?
Very good.
Thank you for coming, Mr.
All right, nice
O'Neill.
meeting all of you.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
And I'll just leave you with this little tidbit. 1 year ago today, the Yankees had the same record the Red Sox have right now. And the Yankees won 103 games last year.
Now, this is a real Red Sox
He
fan.
is very passionate.
Just protest.
Very passionate Red Sox fan, Yukon fan, New York football Giant fan. It's the only New York team I think he roots for.
Well, now, don't you think we should go to lunch?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I want to interview Mr. Whitney about his book after lunch.
Okay. You want to do that here, or you want to do it downstairs? I don't know if I can receive this in reserve. You want to do that? Yeah.
I
Let me
think
see
it'd be
if we can-
lovely. Or we can do it, it's so nice, we can also do it outdoors.
Let me see if this is available.